Hello everyone, today I want to share a complete evolution of a debate with the motion. This house believes that Indonesia should significantly tax residential properties that are left vacant or unoccupied. So in this debate, there were four teams for opening government from Universitas Surabaya, for opening opposition from Universitas Kristen Indonesia, for closing government from Universitas Katolik Atmajaya, and the last for closing opposition from Universitas Brawijaya. So, I will evaluate this debate using three main aspects: matter, manner, and also method. First, let's talk about matter, which is the content or arguments. First of all, opening government did a good job explaining the problem. They talk about the housing crisis in Indonesia and the limited land. They argued that rich people often buy houses as investment and leave them empty. They said taxing this empty house would help return them to the market. But their plan was not very detailed. For example, they did not clearly explain how the government would check if a house is truly empty. And for opening opposition, they replied by saying this policy is unfair, especially for middle-class people who have to work in other cities and leave their house empty. They also said that many houses in Indonesia are inherited from family, not just bought for profit. Actually, this is a good point, but they mostly focus on rejecting the idea without offering a clear alternative solution. And next, for closing government. Actually, there was stronger. They supported opening government, but also filled in the missing details. They explained clearly how the rich people are in this debate, why these people are not vulnerable, and how the tax money could be used to build affordable housing or improve infrastructure. They show how the policy could really help poor people. Next, for closing opposition, they added an interesting perspective. They said that this significant tax might increase house prices and rent, causing gentrification and pushing poor people to suburbs. Their analysis of market risk was good, but they did not fully challenge the moral reason behind taxing empty houses. And second, let's look at manner, or the way the teams delivered their speeches. First, opening government. They was quite clear, but sometimes the speaker sounded hesitant with a lot of word or even so, the message was still understandable. And for opening opposition, they spoke calmly and logically, but their delivery was a bit monotone and less engaging. And next, for closing government, they was more confident, clear, and structured. They spoke in a way that kept the audience focused. And the last, for closing opposition, they had a formal style that was good, but sometimes they were too dense and repetitive, making their speech harder to follow. Third, let's discuss method, or the structure of the debate. First, opening government did well in building their case, but they did not strongly respond to opposition attacks. They focused more on their own arguments. And for opening opposition, they was well structured in defending their side, but they lacked strong attacks or alternative solution. And the last, for closing government, they understood their role very well. They closed the gaps from opening government, responded to the opposition arguments, and added new relevant points. The last is for closing opposition. They tried to build an extension about market effects, but their speech was sometimes a bit mixed up and less organized. So, after considering all of this aspect, here is my ranking for this debate. First place goes to Yeah, closing government, they delivered the most complete case. They didn't just support the motion but also fix the weakness from opening government. They provide a clear mechanism, explain who would be taxed, and justify why it is fair. They also describe how the tax money could help build affordable housing. Then, for the second place is opening government. Why? Because they did very well in framing the housing crisis and showing the moral responsibility of the rich. But their plan for implementing the tax was less detailed compared to closing government. And next, third place goes to closing opposition. They offered an important argument about market risk and gentrification, as I said before, but they did not fully break the moral justification for the tax. And the last, unfortunately, the fourth place is to opening opposition because they focus mainly on saying the policy is unfair but did not give a strong alternative or deeply attack the government's plan. Uh, Overall, in my opinion, I think this debate was very interesting with many strong arguments about morality, social responsibility, and the housing market in Indonesia. Closing government performed the best because they delivered a complete, clear, and convincing case. They responded to all challenges and showed why their policy would help the most vulnerable people. That is why they deserve to be the winners in this evaluation. So I think that's all from me. See you.